Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to completely unpack the mechanics of a classic underdog story by looking at the timeless fable, The Persistence of Adam. We all absolutely love a good tale of triumph, but we honestly rarely stop to examine the structural bones behind it. So in this Explainer, we're not just going through a sequence of events. We're treating Adam's journey as a literal masterclass in the anatomy of a success story. But before we even jump into the text, I really want you to ask yourself, what actually builds a narrative of success? Is it just sudden dumb luck, or maybe an overwhelming natural talent? We tend to heavily romanticize success, but as we'll see today through Adam's journey, the actual blueprint for a truly great success story is surprisingly simple, yet incredibly profound. Okay, let's start with the setup, the protagonist and the conflict. Let's dive right into the critical first act of Adam's story. Right away, the emotional stakes of this story are set. We're introduced to our protagonist, just a normal young boy in a small village who happens to harbor some seriously grand ambitions. But pitted directly against him is his own community. And they didn't just ignore the kid, they actually laughed at him, telling him he was way too ordinary to ever achieve greatness. It's the classic inciting instant, right? Will Adam's internal belief cave to the external negativity of his environment? Now we move into the rising action, the mechanics of moving forward. So here is where we strip away those abstract dreams and look at the gritty reality. Instead of listening to all that mockery from his village, Adam did something brilliant. He built a rigid, actionable routine. Every morning he's out there acquiring new skills, and every evening he's back home supporting his family. And he maintained this intense, continuous grind for years. This is the real engine of the story. Notice how grounded he is here. He isn't just chasing some selfish dream, he's actively serving his family, which naturally makes us root for him even more as the years tick by. Now, in any great story of ambition, the hero is going to stumble. It's unavoidable. And yeah, Adam failed. But whenever he did, he didn't just passively survive it. He completely redefined what failure meant. He treated it strictly as a necessary lesson in his story, rather than some giant neon signal to quit. By literally changing the definition of failure, he stripped the villain of its power to defeat him. That mental shift is the absolute core of his rising action. Which brings us to the climax, the turning point of success. After years of quiet, completely unseen dedication, we hit the pivotal moment where all that internal grit suddenly transforms into undeniable external validation. When Adam finally launched his own business and achieved success, his reputation wasn't built on a flashy gimmick. He became known squarely for two key character traits, his honesty and his determination. The very mechanics he used during those long years of struggle, they literally became the foundational pillars of his ultimate triumph. And talk about a perfectly satisfying character arc for the supporting cast. The villagers started out at step 1, laughing at his grand ambitions. Then, step 2, they doubted his potential, calling him ordinary. Ultimately, step 3, they completely admired his success. The very people who provided the initial conflict were forced by Adam's undeniable results to change their entire worldview. Finally, every great narrative needs a resolution. The moral, the true secret to success? The ultimate payoff of our explainer arrives right here. One day, a young child walks up to Adam and asks him the exact question we posed at the very beginning of our own journey today. What is the secret to success? In this moment, the narrative shifts beautifully. Adam graduates from being the student of life to becoming the mentor. And Adam's reply is just fantastic because it completely dismisses the things we all usually blame for our lack of success. He says, success is not about being the smartest or the luckiest. It is about believing in yourself and never giving up, even when the journey becomes difficult. He crowns self-belief and unwavering persistence as the real, actually accessible drivers of achievement, bringing the entire theme of his story into one crystal-clear sentence. Because of that mindset, his life evolved from a personal victory into a timeless blueprint for the rest of us. He proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that turning dreams into reality is absolutely possible. But it requires arming yourself with 3 specific tools: the patience for the long years of hard work, the courage to face the laughter of the village, and the perseverance to completely redefine your failures. That is the true anatomy of his legacy. As we wrap up this explainer on the structural mechanics of an underdog's journey, I want to leave you with a thought to apply directly to your own path. We've seen exactly how Adam controlled the narrative of his life by reframing his setbacks. So, when the rising action of your own life gets difficult, I want you to ask yourself, How will you treat your next failure in the story of your life?